Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Adam Wolf from Gamers Platform, and welcome to another episode of Halftime. We're going to be taking the next 10 to 15 minutes talking about a brand new video game, probably one of the most widely anticipated games of 2017, Destiny 2. And I'm just going to be doing a freeform sort of thing. I know last Halftime episode I did a scripted thing. And sometimes, I mean, I guess it really depends on the game. I may or may not keep doing that, but I just tried it again. I think I did pretty well the last time, but today we're just going to go over the pros and the cons of Destiny 2, the beta. Okay, we're still in beta. Game releases for consoles next week, I believe, and then not until October for PC, which is what I have it on here. And right now you're taking a look at the story mission that, of course, we've all seen during the press conference, and other YouTubers have been able to play it early on. But I got my chance to play it recently, and let me tell you, I'm loving this. Okay, so we're going to start just talking about the graphics. First of all, everybody's complaining, oh, it looks the same. It just looks like Destiny 1. No, it doesn't. Okay, not in my opinion. Okay, games and game series tend to have an art style, and the art style is, you know, synonymous with Destiny. You know, so you take a look at Destiny 2, it's like it looks like Destiny 1. I wonder why. Because it's the art style. But graphically speaking, this game is gorgeous. It's full of color, even though it's like a very dark theme to it in terms of like the story and what happens. The game itself is extremely vibrant and colorful. It's just a beautiful game to look at. And I think the one thing that really stood out to me between the first and second games when they started showing it off was just simply the particle effects. You know, explosions and fire and, you know, little nuances of light. So if you'd see an explosion, you see a bunch of things just fly out, you know, a bunch of little fire sparks fly out and everything. That's what I'm talking about. Those particle effects add such a depth to explosions and crackling fires and, you know, whatever, your supers and stuff like that. It just makes the game look so much better. And I think certainly the detail in this game, now that they're not hindered by the last generation consoles, which was the problem with the first game, they can really let loose on, you know, the detail and the art of the game. And I gotta say, they just smashed it out of the park on this one. I love the look of the game. But what's crazy about it is that as good as it looks, it plays just as well. It's so just refreshing, you know. In this day and age of early access and you know, pay-to-play betas, for a beta, this game runs amazing. I have an R7 1700. Sorry, I have an R7 or Ryzen 7 1700 with a GTX 1060, and I can almost play on the very high preset, which is basically Ultra. In the game. The only thing I have to change is the anti-aliasing. I have to turn it down from MSAA to SMAA. But that's a very minor change. It's not that big of a deal. So I'm just blown away that that type of rig can play this game on Ultra, so to speak. I don't have to change anything else except for anti-aliasing. You could probably pull it off with a Ryzen 5, like the lowest end Ryzen 5 or maybe the highest end Ryzen 3 with a 1060. I don't know. Like I'm gonna say yes to the Ryzen 5. Ryzen 3 might be pushing it, but it's possible, I think, to even play this game at with that kind of low end rig. That right there tells me a lot about the fact how amazingly optimized this game is for PC. You know, it may be centered around console, as you know, as you can see with the user interface. It's very console oriented, but you get used to it really quick. I mean, I played the first Destiny like to no end, so it doesn't bother me. But the bottom line is that it just runs so well for PC that even a low end rig like a Ryzen 5 or a Ryzen 3 with a 1060, cheaply built, can run this game. And that right there just shows the dedication that Bungie has to making sure that this game works perfectly on PC. Gameplay wise, this game is so much fun to play, and it's just the controls are extremely responsive compared to the first game. The controls are extremely responsive, and I know you say mouse and keyboard, they're supposed to be responsive, but I'm talking in terms of, just the feel of them. For consoles, 30 FPS sometimes works really well. With Destiny 1, they did feel everything felt a bit sluggish and heavy, whereas with this, it doesn't feel like that at all, and that's not even just due to the frame rate. I even purposely dropped the frame rate, capped the frame rate in the PC version to 30 to try it out. It still feels just as responsive as anything else. So they did a really good job at making sure that the controls feel really good. They have full controller support, so if you're a console player looking to switch to PC because you want those better graphics, you want the higher frame rate, I used my PlayStation 4 controller. It has full controller support for PS4 and Xbox One controllers, so the transition between console and PC can be made very, very easily, and I gotta give them a thumbs up for that. It just feels so good to play, especially after all the years we've been playing Destiny 1 at 30 FPS. It's a hell of it's kind of weird to play a Destiny game at 60, but it feels good at the same time. Which is just great. The story, I feel, is going to be just amazing. I really do feel like it's going to be good because the villain alone, Ghaul, seems like a very proper villain. And what I mean by that is there have been a lot of games recently where the villain's been complained about. Oh, it's too one-dimensional, or it's too easy of a boss fight, or whatever. I feel like the boss fight with Ghaul is going to be a hell of a fight because he just seems like he really wants to tear down the Guardians and really make them pay for whatever he feels they deserve to pay for. But he just seems so menacing. He looks like a really even buffer version of Bane. Let's just put it that way. I mean, he's got a mask on. He's got a really deep voice. He just sounds like he wants to destroy you, and that's the best part. And I can't wait to play more of the story and run into Ghaul and see what he has to offer in terms of difficulty, and it's just going to be good. It's probably going to be one of the hardest raids that we'll ever have to deal with, but I can't wait, and I really hope they follow through with making it very difficult for us to actually beat this guy. It would be a breath of fresh air to have some sort of difficulty in the game. Excuse me. Speaking of difficulty, if the one strike that they are allowing us to play is anything to go on, I hope strikes are harder. I mean, it seems like they will be. This one strike I've done probably like 20 times over now, and each time I always end up dying at least once, just because of the fact that it is it's if you don't have a great team, you do end up dying a lot because you don't have anybody covering you. But if it's an okay team, but you are kind of like rushing ahead or whatever, you're not really watching yourself, you can die pretty quickly. It's so difficult at times to do the strike, and that's fine. I'm good with that. I don't want strikes to be super easy. I mean, they obviously came out with Nightfall in the first game, and those were extremely difficult. But I hope that this one strike that we're allowed to play is kind of like a precursor to what the game's going to be like when it gets released. And the last positive thing that I have to talk about is the netcode. It seems a lot better. It really does. When I was playing PvP, it really felt pretty clean. It felt like I was hitting people when I was supposed to be hitting them. I was missing them when I was supposed to be missing them. And it didn't really. There were a couple of situations where some people were lagging, but that was not until they went into open beta yesterday. So I'm sure the servers got bogged down a little bit. But the day before, because I pre-ordered it, I didn't pre-order it. Jeremy did. But anyway, because I got it pre-ordered, I got to play a day early, and the server seemed pretty stable. There wasn't too much lagging. People weren't jumping around on the screen or anything like that. So I got to say, it's so much better. It feels crisper. It feels so much better, and I hope that continues with the release of the game. I know they're going to have their issues, but usually in betas, there are way more issues than this, especially with PvP, and I didn't find too many problems with playing PvP as much as I don't like it. to be able to have a decent time, even playing with Jeremy and just playing by myself. The netcode definitely seems a lot more on point than the first game. Speaking of PvP, going into the cons, I hate PvP. I hate it. It's awful, but that's only because of what I'm about to mention. For me now, for the first thing, I just want to hit on PvP. Just feels the same, and I guess some people that's a good thing. And in this particular case, this beta, they're only allowing us to play Control, and then there's a competitive mode that's kind of like CS:GO. Apparently, I haven't tried it. I don't really feel like playing CS:GO in Destiny, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But apparently it's like a CS:GO type thing. You get one life, you die, and then you have to wait till the round ends to play the next round. I wouldn't be able to deal with that. It's just annoying enough. But it feels very much the same, which is okay in some situations. But you'll see why I'm saying that in a minute here. One of the things that I watched Level Cap's video, and I have to agree with him on this one, is he called it aim assist. I don't like to call it aim assist, because aim assist is when your reticle is helped to the target, like it's forced to the target, not headshots. Okay, it's not aim botting, but it's aim assist, where it eases the reticle to the target to help you aim better with a controller. Mouse and keyboard, you don't need that. But what I'm calling this is assisted hit detection, where you could clearly miss by maybe inches and you'll still get a hit on the enemy, which is crazy to me. I don't understand that. You could still miss and actually get a hit marker. So in some cases, I guess it's fair around the board because everybody gets it, but at the same time, if it's a player that's not as skilled, like I don't find myself to be very skilled at Destiny, especially Destiny, because it's just a lot of jumping and moving around and quick maneuvers and stuff like that. I'd be a very bad player if this actually didn't exist, and I think they did that on purpose. But for PC players, it's kind of hard to decipher who's good and who's not. So you're not only giving bad players an advantage, but you're giving good players a huge advantage, and it kind of like unbalances the whole aspect of PvP and really putting some skill into your shots. So I don't know, I just feel like it's not great. Popular guns from the first game carried over into this game. So anything you remember from Destiny 1, hand cannons, scout rifles, auto rifles, no rocket launchers, but shotguns. In this game, for Destiny 2, it's hand cannons is the most popular, and then you've got pulse rifles, which are basically the burst rifles, and then I think third to that would be probably auto rifles, and then snipers. But like basically the main ones are making a return to PvP, and I find that to be a con because, like, what the hell? There's no balance. Everybody's using a hand cannon, and it's the most irritating thing to deal with. Not the fact that I can't use them, because I can, but it'd be nice to have a bit more variety, normalize the guns as they said they would in the first game, and they still haven't, so I just don't find that to be great. There's no gun variety in PvP. So the last two grievances I have are very minor, but this might only be for the beta, but you can't seem to pick the gender of your character. And honestly, I don't care, but I know other people will. And so I figured I'd just mention that. I noticed that my character was just being randomly picked, whatever gender and race that they were going to be, labeled as. Again, might just be for the beta. In the first game, I believe you could choose your race and gender. Well, I know you could choose your race and gender. So the second game, hopefully they have that built in as well. It'd be interesting if they didn't. I'm not sure why they would just get rid of that, but... And then the last thing I have to talk about is minor network issues that I was having. Very minor. I think they just deployed a hotfix for it. I don't know. I didn't look at the patch notes, but it seemed to be fine yesterday. The day before, we were having issues. Me and Jeremy were having problems staying connected in a party when we went to go look for a strike or a PvP match. So let's say we got into a party. I'd start up the strike, and then all of a sudden it'd just kick him out of the party. And so I'd have to cancel the strike and re-invite him and, start it up again, and then it would work. But it would do that every once in a while when we were looking for a new strike or a PvP match. So might just be a minor bug. Again, they put a patch through, or they updated the game yesterday, and it seemed to work just fine then. So might have been what they fixed, might not have been, but I know it just got fixed when they opened the beta up to the public. So anyway, those are my pros and cons of Destiny 2. I have got to say, I'm very excited. It's, you know, a lot of people are just, they're giving Destiny a lot of crap. You know, people always will. And like it or not, this game is actually very good. It's a very good title. I've always loved Bungie titles. I think people's original complaints with Destiny 1 that, oh, it didn't have enough content, was the fact that those idiots were just blowing through the game. Whereas people like me, who actually like to enjoy their games, you know, and I've got like a ton of other games to play as well, you know, it takes me a while to get into the game or play the game, so I come back and it still feels fresh, you know. I'm not one of those losers who just blows through a game just to blow through a game. I don't mind sitting back and just enjoying, you know, things for a little bit. Granted, I didn't know the story back and front because all that was embedded in the Grimoire, and you know, I can go back and read that stuff, or I can read a synopsis, either way. But the bottom line is that those people are just people who have no lives, and all they do is just blow through stuff. And I don't know how you can enjoy a game like that. But either way, I think Destiny 2 with a proper single-player campaign is going to be great. I don't know if you can play with friends. I assume you might be able to, because in the story mission that they allow us to play in the beta here, you get to the point where you're teaming up with Zavala out in the main portion of the tower, and you run into other players. Now, that's the only time you run into other players during the story mission, but that's what happens. Like, it happens, so I'm going to assume that it's going to be available in the release. So that'd be great if I could play through the campaign with my friends. I just think it'd be a much better experience. It doesn't need to be a lot of people. It could be, you know, 2 to 4 max. You know, if only one other friend, that's fine. I only have one other friend that has Destiny 2 on PC at the moment that I know of, or that will. Yeah, this game is going to be great. I hope you guys are loving what you're seeing on the screen right now. It is a fantastic looking game. It's a fantastic playing game. And again, as a personal critique of the game, I can do without PvP. I don't have any interest in playing PvP at all. It's just the same PvP from the first game, albeit better responding PvP in terms of the netcode. It's PvP, and I could care less. I care about the PvE aspect. I love the story. I want to know the characters, and I cannot wait to actually face Gaul in, I'm assuming, what is going to be a raid. So it's going to be great, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, this rundown of my first impressions of Destiny 2. I can't wait for this to come out. It comes out next week, I believe, on the consoles, and then later in October on PC. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and please join me again in the next episode when we take another look at a brand new game yet to be released or recently released. And if you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you hate my opinions, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'm Adam Wolf. This is Destiny 2, and I will see you guys in the next one.